Fantasy managers, hello and welcome back to the FPL Addicts Fantasy Weekly podcast. It's been a good week in FPL for a lot of people and a bad week in FPL for most people, including Ollie Walker-Peel, who sits on the screen there next to me. It's me, Ollie, and the Guru today. We might be expecting some people later on. We've got a guest section later on as well. But for now, Ollie, how are you doing, mate? You're on mute, Ollie.
Seconds in, you've already ribbed me. So that's a new record for you, pal. But no, I'm pretty happy, mate. Above the average, so slight win. I took red arrows, which isn't. But yeah, let's get this week behind us and move forward. International break. Hopefully England can do something for us, lads.
Absolutely, and good to see you around here again, hungry for more FPL. Obviously, very active on our watch along on the weekend and on Twitter and everything. So thank you very much for the support. The other man that joins me tonight is the Guru. Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Elliot. Obviously, a difficult FPL week for a lot of managers, but look, we move on. International break, a bit of rest time, and we can plan for game week 8 with this time off.
Yeah, we certainly can. And Daniel, we didn't all take red arrows. 2 people on this podcast today didn't end up taking red arrows. So we'll get into our teams a little bit later. But for some people, it was a fairly decent week. But we won't waste any more time and we'll get right into it. Ollie, we'll start with you. A game of the week for you, a big shock of the week, whatever you want to call it. What game sort of stood out for you this weekend?
Well, out of the ones I watched... Well, I mean, out of the ones that I was awake for, I'm not going to say Liverpool City because I was, full on sleeping in that game. So we are going to go probably with West Ham Brentford. I'm going to go with the London derby. I'm assuming that one of you are going to go with Man United Everton, so I'll leave that to one of you two. But I tell you what, I was on goal rush. The Spurs game had finished full time, and they found the way over to London Stadium. It was 1 apiece, and an absolute peach of a goal from Johan Visa. It's 2-1 Brentford. Their fans are going mental. Brilliant result for them against a really good West Ham side. And, Brentford have started really well. Out of the 3 promoted sides, they've done far better than the other 2. Norwich have been horrendous. And, you look at Watford, they've been, somewhat average. They've been okay. But Brentford have been brilliant. Fun to watch and got a very good win. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, and on the topic of Watford being, fairly decent so far, Ollie, what's your thoughts on the managerial switch this week that they've gone with?
Oh God. Well, I mean, I like the appointment. I like the appointment of Claudio Ranieri.
Dilly ding, dilly dong.
Since he won the league with Leicester, he's had a interesting managerial career. But at his best, you're not an ex-Chelsea manager and you do well at Chelsea or do well at Leicester without having something about you. So I think he'll do okay. He'll probably won't even last a year with the way Watford go. They just go through managers like the weather, don't they? Change like the weather. So I'm not too sure on how the appointment will go, but not a bad caliber manager to bring in, definitely not.
No, not at all. And as you say, ex-Chelsea, Premier League winning manager, you really probably couldn't go for much better if you were Watford, but they had a decent start to the season. I didn't really see too much wrong with it. Clearly their owners thought differently, and that's why I'm just a host on an FPL show and not an owner of a football club, because, if they skyrocket now, then it's going to be absolutely brilliant for them, and I'm sure we're probably going to see something like that. But Guru, was there another game that sort of stood out for you this weekend?
I think it's only that Liverpool Man City game that really stood out for me. Unbelievable game for a neutral. Game of 2 halves as well. City were pretty dominant in the first half, and then second half Liverpool come out and turned it around, and Salah was just unbelievable. So yeah, that game's, I don't think anything tops it this weekend.
No, it was an absolute thriller. As Ollie said, I was fast asleep as well, so I'm not going to act like I did watch it in real time, but, watch the highlights back, saw all the goals and the clips like that. Mohamed Salah was brilliant. That little run from Bernardo Silva, Guru. I know we're going to get Dan commenting about it in the chat, but that was, some game end to end. It looked like high intensity. Liverpool Man City is always, recent years, there's not many better fixtures, is there, in the Premier League?
No, not in recent years. I think, Pep versus Klopp's a good battle, and just phenomenal stuff. That little Bernardo run was good, but nothing can top that Salah goal. I think, it's contender for goal of the season already for me. Just walked past that defence like they were ghosts. So, yeah, phenomenal stuff from probably the best player in the league by some distance right now.
And he's definitely the best asset that you can get in your FPL teams at the minute as well. He's absolutely brilliant, on absolute fire. He's in contention to be, named the best player of the world. You've definitely got a fair argument for that at the minute. He is on absolute fire. But as Ollie said before, I think, probably wasn't the game of the week for me, but the one that I'm definitely most equipped to talk about was Man United Everton. The first half was fairly boring, but, Everton managed to, sort of keep Man United at bay for a little bit of time until Anthony Martial came along and decided to score. I don't know how many people have got him in FPL. Don't know how high his ownership is, but I imagine it's quite low. But I had him in my draft team from the start of the season. I kept him because Ice Cold Martial is going to come good now. He's going to be on form for them. And he's going to be firing for them. But Everton obviously managed to peg Man United back with that beautiful counter-attack. Demarai Gray just shoving off Fred. Decore sent Luke Shaw to the shops, and Andros Townsend slotted it past De Gea and, did the Ronaldo celebration in his own backyard. So it was absolutely brilliant. And, Everton probably unlucky, you could say, to not get all 3 points, but it was definitely a really good game, especially in the second half, and a really good game of football. Ollie, what did you sort of make of the Ronaldo celebration, mate?
Look, it was very, very poorly executed, but fair play for him for having a go at it. Look, if you're Andros Townsend and you're doing that Ronaldo celebration, like, Ronaldo's probably going, "Who is this guy, right? Who is he?" But then, fair enough, swaps his shirt with him. Like, it's a crazy, crazy scenario. It was a really good goal as well on the counter-attack, clinically finished, and fair play to Andros Townsend. He was absolutely loving it. The Everton fans were loving it. So, yeah, you may as well. I mean, I don't know if I'd do it, going up to in Ronaldo's backyard and doing that. But, fair enough to him.
Yeah, it definitely takes some guts to do that in front of Ronaldo, especially with, just an equaliser at the score at 1-1. It was definitely brave from him. But they're sort of our 3 fixtures of the week. We'll move on as we go into the international break now. We're definitely more equipped to discuss, the way that the paid league is shaping up at the minute. And Guru, we've got 3 people, the top 3 in this league, who have already broken the 500-point mark for this season. That is absolutely mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. And it's brilliant to see. Donald's a real active member in our Discord as well. So, yeah, it's buzzing to see him at the top. We got Geordie Wilson, who's been a guest before, and then Pizza Boy in third. So, yeah, really good stuff. And, amazing. They've all got green arrows this week in what we said, was a difficult week for everyone. So, yeah, buzzing.
And they've definitely managed to come out of this week looking fairly good. And Nathan, obviously, they're sitting on 499 points as well, which is absolutely brilliant. He is our guest on the show later. Budgie, we call him. So he will be popping on if all goes well. And he's just 1 point off the 500 mark. So he'll probably be quite disappointed with that. But Ollie, I want to talk to you about a certain Tom Stones who peaked after game week 3 by the looks of things so far this season. He's sitting in 7th at the minute. He had a brilliant start to the season. He was, so dominant in our league last season. Is something going wrong? Is he not feeling too well or something? Because usually he'd be right at the top of this league, wouldn't he?
Look, to be fair, he's 7th, so he's not doing too bad. He's only 27 points off the lead. There's still another, 27, 28, however many game weeks it is to go. No, even more. We're heading to game week 8. It's like 30 game weeks to go. So there's still a long time. So, he's doing all right. He did walk our paid mini league last year, the free one, sorry. So I think he'll come back and probably, which is obviously great for our page, we've had a ton more people join us. So that competition's increased. It just shows that someone who absolutely, walked the league last year hasn't had the chance to do the same again because we've got so many great new members in the league. So, he'll come back, but it is nice to see that, that he's sharing it around now.
Yeah, it definitely is good to see because he was so dominant last season, won the league by a fair bit. And I think it's a good point that you make, Ollie. The league is so competitive, so many really good FPL managers in it. So it's definitely really close. And that the league's good when the Guru only sits in 13th in it. Guru, so far this season, you've had a really good season. And, it's really just shown how competitive this league is when you sat there sitting in 13th. Have you sort of been happy with how you've gone so far or not really?
Look, the standard's high in this league, and we've got some cracking players. Look, I'm pretty satisfied. I took a few green arrows lately. It wasn't long ago. I think I was sitting in the sort of 25th position of this league. So, yeah, just trying to gradually push up the league. But I'm comfortable at the moment, not too disappointed. And we'll see how we go in the coming months.
Yeah, absolutely, and you shouldn't be. But we'll move on to the free league now, and if the paid league's competitive, the free league is always going to be that little bit more. We've got someone on 520 points. Netflix and Chilwell. Billy sits there on 520, and then the usuals. We've got so many people. We've got 8 people in this league. Sorry, 9 people in this league that have got above 500 points, which is absolutely ridiculous, Ollie. The standard in our free league was high last season, but it's been absolutely decimated by the standard this season, hasn't it?
It has, and I'm gonna, if you're playing FPL Addicts Bingo, which we don't have, but maybe we should have, I'm gonna, take Jack's role. Jack usually says every week, these guys should have joined the paid league. So in his absence, I'm gonna say it for him. I tell you what, 520 points. I know Donald's top of the paid league, so 11 points clear in top spot. Obviously, Donald's getting some ground on him, but 520 points in 7 game weeks. What? Just how? Tell
It's
me how.
ridiculous.
Teach me the ways. You're getting, averaging 70 points a game week plus. So, how? How are people doing this? It's a great start for him, and hopefully for our sake. Well, I mean, I don't know if I want to go on the pod because the podcast curse is real, but hopefully he keeps going and keeps this free league really exciting, which I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and as Ollie's just said there's so many people that do need to be getting into this paid league next season, and when it opens back up again, and it's really emphasised by the women's league as well. Ollie, as you said, the FPL bingo there, but we say it every week. There's so many people in this league that also need to be joining, don't they, Guru? 492 points, 483, 479. These are massive, massive scores that definitely decimate my score, definitely decimate Ollie's score. Maybe not so much yours, but they definitely need to be in this paid league, don't they?
Yeah, some brilliant scores. Obviously, Maya at the top's been consistently good so far. Not many people can knock her off. I think she's been there for most of the season already. But yeah, some brilliant scores, which is great to see. So happy days. I know Renee's pretty happy. I think she's just edging to the top 10 now. With Miko's 11, got 56 points, so she was buzzing off her team this week. And yeah, some massive scores. So well done to all the ladies in this league.
Yeah, and Karima, Hungry for More FPL also sits there in 7th in the league. So, congratulations to you as well. And to Renee, the guru, the real guru at heart. We all know that she's the real guru that gives this guru all the information, behind the scenes, is sitting there in the top 10. So that's absolutely brilliant. But I think my favourite league this season is definitely the Bonus Bank head-to-head league. There's just something about head-to-head leagues that are just so funny to me. The average, who was, looking really good, looking on good form for the past couple of game weeks, has slipped down, and I have toppled the average. The average sits there. I'm just beating it by goal difference, 49-point goal difference between me and the average at the minute. And Reedy managed to beat the average, and it's just been a downfall ever since for it, Ollie, hasn't it? But the average sits there in 13th. But it's no surprise to see Ali and Donal sitting at the top of this league, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you haven't got 2 hours, so there's no way you'll be able to find me scrolling all that way down. Because I think in every other league, I think that I've had a nightmare. Classic, I'm doing okay, but all the draft leagues, all the head-to-head leagues, I'm not doing too great in. But Donal again, he's becoming, in our FPL Addicts Hall of Fame. I don't think we have one yet. But I think that's maybe something we could work on, and if we ever did implement one, Donal for this season and this start that he's had would be right up there because he's been absolutely unbelievable. Look at me scroll down 19th. Look at all that. Look at all the podcast lot.
Look at the podcast lot bunched together.
Matt and myself.
Where's Snapman?
I think I had a win this week.
Oh,
he fought with the league. Oh no. Oh no.
Look at how many points he's got, mate. Look at how many points he's got.
No.
He hasn't picked up a point in this head-to-head league. That is absolute. It's a good thing he's not on today, I tell you what.
He's going to end up with less points than Derby at this rate. My days. He's had a shocking start, but no, back to the stars of the show rather than the basement boys. Donal's done a class job, and Pizza Boy himself, he'll love me saying this because obviously he watches every podcast. What a man he is! Ali is a top guy. He's up the top there. Tom in 4th, with Aaron in 3rd. Really, really decent standard again, and hopefully I can get myself up there with a couple of wins. But the average is in the mud, and that's the way it is.
And there's Josh saying he's doing well in the bonus bank head-to-head, but he's at the halfway mark for the paid mini. And, Josh, it's a long season, mate. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. As Ollie said, 30 more game weeks left. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That would be on the FPL bingo as well, Ollie, wouldn't it? Marathon, not a sprint. We've got to formulate this, mate. I think that's absolutely a great idea. So you just got to keep going. And, there is also prizes for the head-to-head league. So, you can definitely focus on that. And as Ollie said before, there's a big bunch of the podcast lot sitting there. Reedy in 16th, Jack in 17th, Matt in 18th, and no surprise, Ollie is 19th. Bottom of those lot there. So
yeah, just quickly for those in the comments section, obviously we've got Hungry for more FPLs in there. Dan's watched literally every podcast this season. JC, what else? We don't really have questions on here like discussion questions, but because it's an international break, we might have time. If we were to have an FPL Addicts bingo card, what would go on it? We've had a couple so far that we've sort of talked about, but is there any more that would go on there? And if so, what are they? Because I think we might have to formulate this for next week and see how many we can check off.
I think that's probably one that would go on for the watch-alongs, Daniel. But none of us can do the Roy Keane impression quite as good as you. So I'm not gonna try and get anyone on the podcast to do that. But that's how the head-to-head league's shaken up at the minute. It's a really fun league. A lot of good fun. A lot of good matches that will be played this week as well. A lot of high scoring points. Let's just see if the average can take its next victim. But we'll move on to the podcast mini now that we've spoken about what we've said. Statman Dave sits there at bottom, 37 points this week. I'm going to do him a favour and I'm not going to go through his team and show you how many points he got. And we will just move straight into my one to avoid any sort of embarrassment for him. So it's 51 points for me this week. It was a very, very low scoring average this week compared to what we've seen this season. The standard of FPL this season has been absolutely brilliant so far. So 51 points, 13 above the average. I was delighted with Sanchez getting a clean sheet. He's off the fraud list just for this week. Draw against Arsenal, 0-0. Was happy to see that. Marcel and Manquillo getting 3 points each. Marcel, not too sure how he got a bonus point, but he did end up getting a bonus in the end. Livramento managed to get an assist. He's an attacking fullback. He's an absolute machine. And Javier Manquillo managed to get his second attacking return of the season as well with an assist for Jeff Hendrick's goal, which was short-lived by Hwang Hee-chan, but we won't talk too much about that one. The midfield, Mohamed Salah should have been my captain. I was spineless this week. I went with the pack, went with Lukaku as the captain, should have gone with Salah and backed myself. If you were watching the watch-along, I know I was talking about it, saying that I wanted to do it. But I just didn't have the guts to do it for this week. And Gray, Rafinha, and Douglas Luiz didn't really do too much either. Ronaldo is one that is going to be on the fraud list just for this week. We've got to, look at this guy, 12.7 million, and he's putting up performances like that. Not on my watch. Mohamed Salah would absolutely never. But Raul Jimenez, bittersweet. Really, really bittersweet for me. Obviously, I would rather him not get the points, but if Newcastle are going to be Newcastle and lose, I would rather Jimenez assist two goals and at least get me some points out of that game, and get some sort of consolation out of that game. And then obviously the Lukaku captain shout didn't pay off. And I think the most annoying thing for me this week was Norwich keeping a clean sheet for the first time in God knows how many game weeks, and Brandon Williams didn't play. I think that was the most frustrating part of the game week for me. But as we said, 51 points. I was happy with that. It was a good week from me. So yeah, I was happy. We will go through Jack's team because I think he deserves it this week. 20 points above the average. Guru, what a week he has had.
He's had a great week. Well done to him. He's got it spot on with his with his captain as well. He's tried something different. So yeah, fair play. I didn't think he would captain Son. I thought he'd go Ronaldo against Everton. He sort of shied away from that. And yeah, Son could have had a cricket score in the end. So well done, Jack. He took a hit, I think, this week. I think he brought in Antonio and maybe Rafinha, it might have been. But look, he's done well. He's got the double up with the Brighton defence as well. Salah's smashed it for him. So, yeah, big green arrow, I think, for Jack this week.
Yeah, and Ollie, no return from Chris Wood. You'd be delighted to see that, but a lot of managers weren't too happy.
Come on, mate. Tim Pot striker in East Lancashire, mate. He couldn't even lace Ben Brayton Diaz's boots, could Chris Wood. But, he was always going to blank. Even if it's Norwich, you can't score. Like, what are you doing having him in your team? Look, obviously, I'm not going to bring Burnley players in. And, I hate Burnley as a football club. But I can see from a neutral point of view why you would bring him in, because Norwich are somehow worse at defending than Burnley are. So I can see why. I was never going to anywhere near him. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot barge pole, but, he's blanked again, so that's what you get for bringing in Burnley players, Jack. Take notes, pal.
Yeah, we've got a question from Daniel. Do you want to just sort of like, clear up any confusion with the bingo? For anyone watching this that isn't watching it live, whatever platform you're watching it on, drop us a comment if anything that you think needs to be included in the bingo card, and me and Ollie can sort of formulate anything we can. But Ollie, what do you mean by the bingo card?
So yeah, just like all the common podcast quotes that we say, for example, Elliot saying, "Oh, roll over, I'll roll over," or me saying, or Jack saying, "These should be in the paid league," or common quotes that we say all the time, or take care, stay safe, bye for now. That will probably roll at the end of the pod. Just common podcast quotes that the panel all say, not like FPL put a finger down moments like I've seen in the comments already. More like podcast quotes that we all roll with, and then as they get said on next week's pod, we'll cross them off and see what we can do. We'll get a few cards. We'll get him up on the screen. He's a Razzler, not a bad one. Don't mind that, Dan. Things like that. You get the hang of it. But yeah, I think that might be pretty fun.
Yeah, and as I said, anyone that is watching, listening to this back that isn't live, make sure, if it's Instagram, if it's YouTube, if it's Facebook, if it's Twitter, if it's anything, make sure you let us know what you think we need to include on this FPL bingo card. But Ollie, we'll move on to your team. You've been knocked out of second place by Chris Reed, by his monumental score. I didn't realise that's how many points he got this week, but we'll touch on that in a minute. We'll get to your team, 44 points. You're saying you had a bad week, Ollie. You're above the average in, a fairly shocking game week from a lot of people. Is this just more mind games from you? That's not a bad week at all.
Maybe. I did take a hit, which means that my score doesn't look as good as it is. I got to 40 points, which isn't too bad. I mean, if I captain Salah, then my week's class and I don't get knocked off second. But, usually I'd be annoyed about moving down a spot in the league. I was annoyed when Matt knocked me off the top. But when you lose to a good week that Chris Reed had, you can't really complain too much. I'll let him have that. I do want that second spot back, though, as soon as possible. So please, you can just have a bad week, Chris. That'd be nice. But no, I was a good captain pick away from a really, really good week. My defence was nice. The double Brighton really helped me. I was staring down the barrel of a dreadful week if they didn't keep the clean sheet. And they got that, which was awesome. I woke up on Sunday morning, fairly happy with that clean sheet, especially after the horrendous result for Rovers on Sunday night. So that, made me a little bit happier. My strikers did nothing. Obviously, Ronaldo coming off the bench wasn't great. Obviously didn't have the armband on him, so that was all right. Lukaku should have had goal contributions. Didn't watch the game, obviously, but should have had goal contributions from what I've heard.
I saw one of his misses, mate. I think he hit the post. I saw it, and I was just in absolute awe that that's the player that I've got in instead of Harry Kane.
Yeah. Well, he blanked again. He's blanked 5 games in a row now. He's blanked. So that's not great. If you scroll down, Elliot, my squad is looking a bit threadbare because I have kept hold of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's third on my bench, and Brandon Williams, obviously didn't play. So that's why I've got both Sissoko and Brandon Williams initially starting, but Livramento came off the bench. So once Trent comes back, I think he's the key to be rising up the leagues. I think, despite the fact that a lot of people would have had him, I think a few might have jumped off the bandwagon. I think he might have had a price fall as well. So hopefully the fact that I've kept him might propel me back up the league once he's back. Not sure what I'm going to do with transfers next week, but I've got a whole international break to decide. So I'm not doing horrendously. Had 3 red arrows in a row. Hopefully coming back with the green next week, but I suppose we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's a really good week. Just want to, champion all those red arrows there. You've got the one green arrow and the one grey arrow.
I was going to say that.
What's the green one for? Green one's for Rover Shack contributors. Come on. I'm doing something. I'm in second.
In this
I don't know how. I don't know who's on top of me in that league. I might just have a quick check. So I might have to have a bit of banter with them in the Rover Shack group chat that I'm in, because how I've had a green arrow there, I will never ever know. So yeah, a lot of those around me have had shocking weeks. Ryan, who was the old watch along host before me, he had somehow a worse week than me. He had 37 points, so that means I've just about moved up to second. So lucky to take a green arrow, but I'll take it, and hopefully I can take top spot off Jonathan Secker. So I'll clip that, probably send that to the chat, and then probably get roasted for it when I keep taking red arrows in the forthcoming weeks.
Yeah, again, not quite sure how you have taken the green arrow there, but we'll move on to Reedy's team, and 65 points this week, Ollie. You know, if you're going to drop out a second, it's a fair score to go out with, and you can see where he's got so many points there, can't you?
Yep. What did I say? I'm a good captain choice away from a good week. And look at Chris Reed. He's nailed his captain choice. I mean, not the best one he could have made, obviously, with Salah. As a Liverpool fan, I'm surprised he hasn't gone with Salah, but Vardy's been brilliant. Obviously got himself a goal in that 2-2 draw. So, you know, if I captain Salah, I'm looking at a similar score. But, you know, obviously Chris's work. So that's brilliant for him. Great defence as well. Obviously, two current Brighton players and one former Brighton player doing the job for him in that Brighton Arsenal game, which, you know, he would have been a massive fan of. Decent midfield with Fernandes and with Salah, and then that Vardy one just sort of speaks for itself. So yeah, really good week from Chris. It was a bit of a minefield this week for FPL managers, and he's avoided that. So great week from Chris, and obviously he's moved up to second in our little podcast mini. But like I say, hopefully I can take that back off him soon.
He's done more than just avoid it, mate. 65 points is absolutely mental.
I will say though, he had a -8. He had a -8, so that moves down to 57, which doesn't look as brilliant. But even still, that's not a bad week.
So he actually scored less than Jack. Or did Jack take a hit this week? He took a -4, didn't he, Guru?
Have a look. If you have a look on the,
Jack
took a
-4.
So still the most in the podcast league by a solitary point if you take those hits into account. But yeah, still not a bad week from Chris, and not a bad week for you, Matt, either. Bad looks of things as we get onto your team.
Not bad at all. You know, Guru 48 points this week, 38 average this week. You know, no one's managed to knock you off the top spot, even with Reedy's massive score, which, you know, doesn't look so significant now. But 48 points. Were you happy with that this week?
Yeah, I think I was happy in the end. I think with, you know, after Saturday night, I didn't have too many to play. I was getting a bit worried. There was a lot of players left to play on Sunday for, you know, other people's teams. But yeah, I've got away with it in the end. And yeah, Lukaku was unlucky. He did score. He was offside, hit the post. So, you know, I think he was quite unlucky not to return. I still stand by that, you know, being the right captain choice for the weekend, you know, with the amount of chances he ended up getting. But yeah, it's all about Raul Jimenez this week and Salah. You know, Jimenez last 2 weeks has just been brilliant. Stuck by him, bring him in on the wild card. You know, brilliant stuff. Salah, obviously 13 points. But yeah, the Wolves double up in defence was a bit of a disappointment, but Marcel's come out with a bonus point somehow. So I'll take that. Sanchez clean sheet. I thought Gray was unlucky to come away with just 2 points as well. He had a great game, was involved in the goal. Yeah, I heard Rafinha had another good game as well. So, and Jota nearly scored as well. So, yeah, it could have been a bit more, but I'll take 48 points this week, and yeah, plenty of green arrows. So, yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely, as you should do, Guru. You know, it's a really solid score and a game week where a lot of people, you know, were losing their heads and, you know, that sort of stuff. So there's going to be a lot of panic selling this week, I'm sure, and a lot of panic wildcarding if people have got that left. So that's an absolutely brilliant score from you there. And as you can see, that's how the mini league shapes up. Sorry, the Guru sits there, 465 points, and then Statman Dave is all the way down at the bottom with 337, and the rest of the league is just the makeup from there. But that's how we went in game week 7, and yeah, that wraps up the mini league reviews and our team reviews. So just a quick word from our sponsor, Bonus Bank. If you're not aware already, you know, they've been supporting us this season. They've supported our community with the 200 Aussie dollar Manager of the Month prize for every single month for the 2021 and 2022 season, and we could not be more grateful for it. You know, they've already given out $400 to our winners so far, which is absolutely brilliant. And the platform is free to join, but if you want to unlock the special features and go premium, make sure you're using the code FPL Addicts to receive a 25% discount on your first month's membership and no lock-in contracts. As I said, members of our community have been using Bonus Bank's platform for free to review bookie promotions and bonuses in the Premier League for the past game weeks, but it's not just Premier League, it's pretty much every single sport around the world. So make sure you see the link in our caption for details, and you'll learn how to make immediate profit. So what we can do now, boys, is we can start discussing, the game week ahead, which seems so far away now because of the international break, but it's going to be on us, as quick as it possibly can. So we'll just get into a little bit of discussion. Ollie, your season so far, mate, I just want to ask you, are you sort of happy with how you've gone so far this season? Do you think you should be doing better, should be worse? You're also muted, mate.
That's twice. I've turned into Pep Guardiola. Yeah, look, I'm really not happy with the start of the season, mate. I was happy with the first month. In fact, buzzing with the first month. That's the quickest I've ever flown out the blocks in any FPL season. If you discount my century in game week 1, I think that might have been last season. But look, the last 3 weeks have been worse than dreadful. And this is not me just saying this to get to play mind games. 700k rank is poor. I want a lot higher than that. So let's be fair. Let's be honest. I want more than 700k rank at the moment. I'm just above that, so I want to be up near towards 100, 200k at this point. And to be 500,000 off that is not great. So I set high expectations, falling well short. So hopefully this international break can rejuvenate me and I can get going again.
The mind games are coming out of your ears at the minute, mate. Your nose has just grown 12 inches, Pinocchio. Not a great start to the season. Are you not happy with how you've gone so far?
No, I was happy with the first month, but this little 3-week stretch of red arrows has annoyed me. Like I said, I was buzzing with the first month. I couldn't have been happy with the first month, but the last 3 weeks has thrown all that good start away. So that sort of tarnished everything. If it wasn't, if we were having this discussion about the first 4 weeks, I'd be saying, yeah, buzzing. This is the greatest start to an FPL season I've had over the first month. But, let's face it, we're not. We've had 3 game weeks since then, and I've had a shocker in all 3 of them. So, taking 3 red arrows is never nice. If I can take a couple of greens, then, you ask me this question in 3 or 4 weeks, then I might have a very different answer. I hope I do. But at the moment, I'm not happy with where I'm sitting.
Well, I don't want to compliment you too much, mate, because you know how much I like, pulling your leg and, making fun of you. But you've had a really good start to your season. As you said yourself, 38 game weeks left. Don't be disheartened by 3 bad game weeks. You can get back on your merry way after the international break and see how you go. But in order to do that, you've got to have some sort of plan. And your plan last week was to bring somebody in. So I'm not going to assume, that you've got too many brilliant plans already circulating through your head for the international break. But do you have any sort of idea where you're going to be going with your team in the next couple of game weeks?
Look, not yet. I actually brought Antonio Rudiger in, so that wasn't too bad. I mean, I know he obviously conceded a penalty against Southampton, so that was obviously annoying. But I think with Chelsea's fixtures, I think that was a sensible transfer. Chelsea's defence will be good. My main plan was to hold Trent. I'm going to do that. I thought about getting rid of Ronaldo. That's not being reactionary, but I think Jamie Vardy's a great option at 10.5. He's just gone back up to 10.5. So I'm having a look at him, maybe bring him in. I could even just do an Elliott special and roll over this week. With all the fixtures this week, I've got a few away fixtures, but the worst one is Ronaldo's away at Leicester. I've got an away at Norwich, a couple away at Norwich, away at Brentford, away at Watford, away at Everton. Not too bad. So I'm pretty happy with the fixtures this week. I could just roll over if Trent comes back and just start him, move to a 4-3-3. So, or was it? No, I'm in a 4-3-3 anyway. So, oh no, because I've taken Sissoko off my bench, so I'll move from a 3-4-3 to a 4-3-3. And run with that effectively. So for the moment, that's the way I'm looking. I think it might be a rollover potentially, but I suppose that's more for next week, isn't it? Because that'll be our transfer pod when we had international fixtures and probably 70 million more injuries to my team. So we'll see that position in a week or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to, magnify your wild card this season, Ollie. It was played fairly early, fairly reactionary into the Ronaldo news. And, you got ahead of the curve for that Newcastle game at home. But, do you think the time that you played your wild card was the right choice?
We'll assess that later on in the season. We can't tell now after game week 7 if it was the right decision or not. If the season ended now, I'd tell you that it was the complete wrong decision. But it's not ended now. There's still so much more time. the guru is absolutely slating me on private chat saying I wasted my wild card for Ronaldo. Well, I wasted my wild card from a Ronaldo and your man Harry Kane, who has done nothing. So it wasn't just Ronaldo; it was for Harry Kane, who's done nothing either. So it's not just the Man United front man; it's your idol as well, who's cost me. But look, again, I've got a plan. I'm going to stick to it. I think Trent coming back will massively help my team, especially seeing as how I still think the majority of people will have him, let's say, but I think, if you have a look at his ownership, it's gone down. Oh wow, it's gone down further than I thought. It's gone down to 22.4%. So that's
Wow.
In terms of Trent, then that should be a lot higher. So that might be my way back up. People were too reactionary on Trent. I've held on to him. If he comes back for this game after the international break, I think it's Watford. Then I could be onto one if he plays, and that might be my way back up the mini leagues. I think a lot of the good managers will have held him. But that might be my way up. Who knows?
Yeah, and I just want to, highlight this comment from Daniel, who says, "Ollie, you're a proper manager. Oh, we can't tell that now. We'll see in a couple of weeks. I'm not too sure. Have you been watching too many press conferences, mate?"
Yeah, look, 1 week at a time, Dan. 1 week at a time.
We dust ourselves down and we go again next week. Is the classic Steve Bruce phrase that he says every single week after complaining. We won't get too much onto that one.
Well, I don't have the pace of Steve Bruce.
No, not too many people are gifted with that 99 pace. But, Ollie, as we said, you've had a really brilliant start to the season. And, it looks like you've got a plan in your head. No matter how annoyed you might be with Harry Kane or Ronaldo, it looks like you've got a plan forward. And as you said, we'll see in a couple of weeks with how your wild card's going. But, at the minute, it's not looking like it's paid off for you too much. But we can keep our fingers crossed that, the returns in the next couple of weeks can turn that around. But, Guru, we'll move on to you and your start of the season. I sort of asked you before how you were feeling you were going. But, in terms of a general sense, FPL, your overall rank, if you take away our mini leagues, do you sort of think you should be doing better, or are you, exceeding your expectations at the minute?
Sorry, can I just say, Ollie, you're sounding like Mike Bassett, but Mike Bassett more and more every week. For those listeners or watchers who've not seen Mike Bassett, watch it.
England will be playing a 4-4-2.
He sounded like Mike Bassett. He's, all the talk. He's talking himself up. But look, it didn't end too badly for Mike Bassett in the end in the movie. So maybe it might not end too badly for Ollie this season. But anyway, to answer your question, Elliot, look, I'm satisfied and pretty steady. I probably want to be, in that top 100K at this stage. It was kind of the aim within the first sort of 10 game weeks, but I'm getting there. I've taken some green arrows in the last couple of weeks, moved up from, I think, about 650K to about 180. So, yeah, it's a slow burner, better than last season at this stage. I didn't start too well last year. Obviously, in previous FPL years, I've had much better starts, but, we've got more players, some great players and a big standard now. So, yeah, stable, steady. Just want to get those captain choices right. I think they're the biggest part of FPL, and if you get that wrong, you normally come out of a pretty average score. So I want to get that captain nailed on the next couple of game weeks for sure.
Absolutely, and you obviously played your wild card as well, Guru. So you've said a lot with the price rises. You thought it was the right time to play it, but do you still think that you still have that belief that it was the time for you to play your wild card?
Tough one now. I think some of the players I bring in were worth it. Rudiger, Jimenez. I think they've both been brilliant. I've got some big points from Rudiger in the first week, and Jimenez has just been phenomenal. So avoiding them on the price rises, pretty happy with that. Ronaldo's probably not quite been, what we all sort of thought. I had to get the likes of Lukaku in. Albeit, actually, no, he wasn't on the wild card. I'd probably say, my team's benefited. I've got more points with the wild card than my team before, so I'm happy I've played it. I've got a plan that I won't reveal too much on this podcast, but I may not wait for the press conferences this time round for my transfer. I may not have waited for the press conferences, but that will, that's going to be something for probably the one of next week's podcast. But I might have some early transfer plans underway, which is unlike me, but it might have to be done.
That's a very uncharacteristic like of the Guru. So make sure you're keeping your eyes on the YouTube for any possible uploads. He's obviously going to have his team selection next week, and obviously the podcast as well. So that's going to be one to keep your eyes peeled for. But as I said, all three of us have played our wild card so far. For me, I think the situation that I was put in, I think I sort of had to play. I went too reliant on the 4 million defenders like Samikas and Amati at the start of the season that just weren't getting minutes. That it was always going to be the issue, but I didn't prepare myself for a wild card that early. But I sort of, when I wild carded, I sort of wanted to set my team up for the next couple of game weeks, have a plan to get Lukaku in. I've done that so far. Jota was fun while it lasted. Had you in for 4 game weeks, you managed to return in 1. So it's been an interesting one for me. It's definitely been a mixed bag this season. Not doing as well as I'd like to hope, but as Ollie said, there's 30 game weeks left. This game week was a big positive for me. I had a really nice score when a lot of people maybe didn't. So you always sort of claw those points back when everyone doesn't have the best week, and there's a lot of red arrows, and you manage to find a green. So that's always going to be a positive. But Ollie, I want to ask you your FPL asset of the season so far. I'm going to say you can't say Mohamed Salah because that's the obvious choice. Other than Mohamed Salah, who's it for you?
In terms of what my favourite asset of the season, or the best asset? What's
your favourite? Your favourite.
Right. Okay. That's a tough one, that, because I think there's been a few that have done all right for me. I'm gonna go with Tino Livramento. I think, just because I think a lot of people jumped on him a little while after I did. I went with him from the start. I saw an article written on the Premier League website that said Tino Livramento been released from the Chelsea Academy, gone Southampton, and he might be a decent asset. So I think as soon as I read that, I told you about him, Elliot, and we went with him from game week 1, and not too many people did. Obviously, in the first few weeks, he didn't really do much, but just being able to jump on that bandwagon before everyone knew about him was good. There's been a few that have contributed for me. Obviously, you've got your Demarai Gray's been good. You could say Lukaku, I suppose. He's not been amazing for me. Antonio's been good, but I'm going to say Livramento just for the price. And 4 million, playing every week, you can't complain.
Yeah, and he's been brilliant so far. We've got a question. I'm going to assume that's from one of the Gazdens. For some reason, it doesn't show up. He's asked if we've kidnapped Jack. We can't confirm or deny that, but he's playing his wild card this week, we think. So we're going to sabotage it and see how we can go from there. But yeah, Jack's not on today. But we've got a question. Someone says Saka. I'm sure that's in reference to the favourite asset of the season. I think Saka's been all right for the start of the season. He's definitely not been, one of the best FPL assets by a long stretch, in my opinion. But it's always a fair comment, and he's one definitely to look out for. With Arsenal's green swing of fixtures that they've got, is a huge enabler at the minute. They've turned their sort of form around. And he's playing really well for Arsenal at the minute, so he's definitely one that I'm going to keep my eyes on. But Guru, if you had to pick your favourite FPL asset of the season so far, that's not Mohamed Salah and that's not Tino Livramento, who's it going to be for you?
It's going to have to be Antonio, doesn't it? I owned him for those first 4 game weeks, and he got double-digit scores, 3 of them. Obviously, the 4th one he got the -1, but he got a 16-pointer in one of them, and he saved my first few game weeks. So it's really hard to look past Antonio, I think. So yeah, it's got to be big Mikel Antonio.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant so far this season. I think the one for me has got to be this man here, Jeff Hendrick. What a season he's had so far. He's been absolutely brilliant for Newcastle. Got the goal on the weekend. He's been absolutely brilliant. 7 points total. 6 points in game week 7. 0.0% owned. Is a huge differential. 4.8 price point. I'm not quite sure why he's that high. He should definitely be a 4 million player. But no, in all seriousness, I think for me so far this season, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold's the one for me. I've had him in from the start of the season. I knew I wanted him from the start. I just had a feeling, he's been so good. As we've said so many times this season, Guru, he's another midfielder, isn't he? So he's just been absolutely brilliant for Liverpool. And, he's been absent for the past couple of weeks, which has been a little bit disappointing, but it doesn't hinder it enough for me to not include him, because he's been absolutely brilliant. And, where in weeks when I haven't done too well, it's always been him and Mohamed Salah that have really pulled through for me. So Trent Alexander-Arnold has been absolutely brilliant for me so far. Jack's saying Chris Wood, he must have, managed to turn his phone on wherever he is, where we can't really disclose it. But he says Chris Wood. Ollie, what's your thoughts on that one, mate? You're muted, mate.
For everyone. So now I've gone from this is my strategy, right? So I'm going for the best managers of all time, trying to improve my managerial skills. So I've gone from Guardiola with a 2, now Mourinho. Fault that logic. Fault it. You can't. I don't know if you've watched the early bits of the podcast, Jack, but I went on a rant on Chris Wood and why you should never have had him in your team. Ben Brayton Diaz couldn't laze his boost. It was one of the quotes that I think I used. So that's what you get for owning Burnley assets, mate. Wake up.
Yeah, and just before we do wrap up the podcast for today, Guru, we're going to end it on a question and I'll let you answer it. Should I hold Trent or sell?
Hold him, 100%. He's got Watford next. If he's fit, then, why would you sell him? Big fixture, new manager for Watford. Might get an initial manager boost, maybe, but I'd expect Liverpool to beat them. Clean sheet, probably a Trent goal or assist you'd expect. So, yeah, if you own him, keep him for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And surely, the amount of new manager bounces has definitely expired a long time ago at Watford with the amount of managers that they have brought in. But we'll just have to see. But until then, I hope everyone enjoys the international football that you can do. We know it's not the same as FPL. It's a nice little mental refresher. I don't really know what much else to suggest. It's painful without football for a week, but it gives me a week off from Newcastle losing and Ollie a week off from Rovers losing as well. The Guru off from Spurs losing, so we're not too fussed about it, and it gives us time to stew over and overthink our FPL teams as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think we all need the break at the minute. It's been a lot of football, a lot of FPL, especially off the back of that week for a lot of people. But I thank you all for watching along with me today. We've got a couple of people in here now. We've got about 10. So I thank you very much for listening live. If you're listening to it on replay, thank you very much for listening and supporting as well. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video, and you let us know what you make of the season so far and what you're going to be doing in the international break. But until then, enjoy the international football, enjoy your break, take care, stay safe. Bye for now.